Something happened. Hu Chunhua visited Africa. Xinhua News Agency refused to report. Hello, friends. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. Welcome to this episode of Inside View of China. According to the Nigerian Guardian on April 12th, 2025, the vice chairperson of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, the former Crown Prince Hu Chunhua recently led a delegation to visit Africa's largest economy and the largest country in Africa, Nigeria. During his visit, he also met with their president and speaker. It is said that during this trip to Africa, he will also visit another African country, Côte d'Ivoire. Of course, there may be other countries. I don't know. I don't know the details. There aren't many media reports. I only heard friends talking about it in private. Abnormally for Hu Chunhua's visit, including the official CCP media, all the CCP media, including Xinhua News Agency, have deliberately kept a low profile. Didn't make a single word. The anomaly is very obvious. We need to compare December 12th, 2024. Hu Chunhua attended the opening ceremony of Madrid Forum. When the news was reported, the Xinhua News Agency reported it the next day on the 13th. Oops, Hu Chunhua is currently in the Communist Party of China, has a very special position. For such a drastic change, Xinhua News Agency didn't report it. This issue becomes complicated. Today, Lao-Du will think with you to think and discuss this sensitive topic. Before the program officially starts, I still invite friends to watch this program, while don't forget to like, follow, and comment. Your interaction. The weak voice that contributes to this column can be spread further. While driving, if you want to listen to this program through podcasts, it can be found on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts. To search for Du Wen or Neibu Shijiao Kan Zhongguo. To listen simultaneously, there are no advertisements for listening to podcasts. First, let's analyze the current political status and trends of Hu Chunhua. Problem: Hu Chunhua currently serves as the vice chairperson of the 14th National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. He is a member of the Central Committee. This is after he resigned as vice premier of the State Council. He obtained a new position. As vice chairperson of the CPPCC, he nominally participates in the daily work of the CPPCC and the United Front. But his actual power is limited. The CPPCC is mainly a political consultation and United Front agency and does not directly participate in administrative decision-making. Therefore, compared to his past positions as a Politburo member and vice premier of the State Council, in terms of specific policy and responsibility, it should be said that Hu Chunhua's position in CPPCC are more symbolic and ceremonial. Hu Chunhua was once called a star figure in the CCP. He was once a representative figure of the Youth League. The outside world even once regarded him as a potential top leader. He was also called the heir apparent. However, at the 24th National Congress of the CPC, and he failed to be re-elected as a member of the Politburo. He fell out of the power core circle, which raised doubts about his political future. Normally, for a young and capable official like Hu Chunhua, who was born in 1963 and had experience as vice premier, if his career goes smoothly, he should have been retained at the 20 or joined the Politburo Standing Committee to hold a more senior leadership position. But Hu Chunhua not only failed to move forward, but was instead assigned to the CPPCC. Such a position with a strong color of second tier. Many observers as a sign of marginalization. Some media analysis said that Hu Chunhua's exclusion from the Politburo means his political influence has dropped sharply, or even the end of his political career. The former halo of his career is gone forever. After being assigned to the CPPCC, Hu Chunhua has been working in a low-key manner. He has constantly shown his loyalty to Xi Jinping. That licking is simply disgusting. Bowing and scraping, and seems to have forgotten his roots. This marginalized role, he has not been at the core of the party Central Committee's decision-making. In relevant, important public events. In recent years, he has mainly appeared as an envoy, appeared at diplomatic ceremonies. For example, in December 2023, as President Xi Jinping's special envoy, attended the inauguration ceremony of the President of Madagascar. In 2024, he visited South Pacific Island countries and to Madrid, Spain, in Europe, attending the Chengdu International Forum. The latest. One was in April 2025. He led a delegation of the CPPCC. He visited Nigeria and other African countries. These activities show that Hu Chunhua is still by the current leadership given certain diplomatic protocol tasks, indicating that he has not been completely sidelined. However, it should be noted that such tasks are more of a ceremonial nature and implement the instructions of the party central committee. In the end, he is Xi Jinping's lackey, right? The problem of attending some ceremonial occasions doesn't mean an increase in his personal power. So far, there is no sign that he will be re-promoted within the party. Or the question of returning to the heart of power. Of course, there are many rumors overseas that Hu Chunhua is about to return to the power core. But there is no sign that what other than the vice chairperson of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference does he hold? Any new important position, for example, such as the leader of a central leading group. Overall, Hu Chunhua is currently in a second-tier position and is playing a residual role. His influence within the party has significantly declined. There is no obvious trend of promotion or reuse. Rumors are rumors, useless. What's more serious than this is that in April 2025, Hu Chunhua as vice chairperson of the CPPCC to visit Nigeria. We can see that 5 days have passed so far. No news has been released by Xinhua News Agency and other central media. This highlights the change in his political status, the gap in media attention. It may also indicate that a major change in his future. Chinese official media's coverage of foreign affairs often depends on the level of the visiting or visiting officials, is proportional to the political importance of the visit. When the president and premier visit abroad, there will be a press release from Xinhua News Agency and live recordings from CCTV, and important news for reporting and comments. For the Standing Committee of the Political Bureau and state councilors and other senior leaders when they go abroad for visits, Xinhua News Agency usually gives timely reports. However, the vice chairperson of the Standing Committee and vice chairperson of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, the travel reports of such vice national leaders are relatively low-key. The frequency and timeliness, not as high as a national leader. If these leaders are sent as special envoys of the president to attend important events or visit important occasions, Xinhua News Agency will release news in advance. For example, in 2023, Hu Chunhua went to attending the presidential inauguration ceremony. Xinhua News Agency released a short announcement in advance. For general friendly visits or exchanges, at least after the visit, official media will release a short message. It is rare for Communist Party media to not report. In this case, then the local embassy in foreign countries should also promptly publish on the website to make a report. This time, the strangeness lies in or strange. Strange in Hu Chunhua's visit to the Nigerian embassy, there was no news. We can only learn about the situation from the relevant information to learn about the situation. In this case, it often means that something big will happen to Hu Chunhua. Of course, according to the rules of the Communist Party, whether the report is timely also depends on the nature and occasion of the visit. If the visit involves the signing of a bilateral agreement or sensitive diplomatic breakthroughs, Xinhua News Agency usually cooperates with timely reporting to show the results. But if the visit is mainly a courtesy visit, attending a swearing-in ceremony or participating in multilateral events, and the visiting official is not higher than the head of state, right? Then the report may be placed on the website of the MFA or local media, or after the visit, Xinhua News Agency will send a short message. For example, the vice chairperson of the CPPCC attending the inauguration ceremony of a foreign president, Xinhua News Agency reported in the form of a brief message report on the envoy. As an envoy to conduct a friendly visit. For some which are not major news, diplomatic news, what about the popularity of the report? It's limited. Xinhua News Agency may think that such visits is a daily issue of foreign exchanges, so there is no need to publicize it vigorously. But I still want to say that from Hu Chunhua's visit to Nigeria as vice chairperson of CPPCC, his visit to Nigeria and other African countries, to analyze that it is a friendly exchange. According to Nigerian media reports in Abuja, he met with the Nigerian Senate President, the Speaker of the House. Of representatives, he reaffirmed the China-Nigeria Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. By mid-April, the Xinhua News Agency of China People's Daily and other media haven't released any reports. This may reflect several considerations in publicity practice. I think the first one is that because Xi Jinping is on a foreign visit, and worry that Hu Chunhua will steal the limelight. This possibility exists. Secondly, the visit involves an important country, Nigeria, but Hu Chunhua is not a current member of the party, so the priority of reporting is not high. Thirdly, the content of China-Nigeria meeting focuses on implementing the agreed cooperation direction. There are no breakthrough results. The propaganda department may choose to be tight inside actively engage in diplomatic contacts. In domestic propaganda, handle it quietly. Thirdly, propaganda stance. May wait for higher-level information release, such as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the State Council Information Office when summarizing China-Africa cooperation, mention this matter together. Rather than for a visit by a vice chairperson of the CPPCC to build momentum. Especially when the visitor whose political status is relatively marginalized, when the visit is mainly ceremonial, it is acceptable for the report to be slightly delayed. But it can't be absent. And cannot be absent. Don't report this time for 5 days. It's very strange. It's too strange. Absence means bad news, and it's definitely not good news. In the history of the Communist Party of China's, or in the history of the Communist Party of China, there are many high-level officials who the domestic media did not report it in time, or even not reporting it. This kind of silence is often closely related to the political background or special considerations. Is closely related. Okay, let's take a few examples. The first example, Li Yuanchao's secret visit to the United States. In 2016, please, Li Yuanchao used to be vice president of the country. Vice national level? Theoretically, he was in the diplomatic protocol important figure. However, it was reported around 2015. Made a low-key visit to Harvard University in the U.S. At that time, both the Chinese official media and the U.S. media did not report on his visit to the U.S. Such an abnormal news vacuum was widely interpreted as signal of Li Yuanchao's loss of power in the party at that time. According to analysis, he was marginalized for being involved in some rumors. His visit was not publicized. Finally, at the 19th National Congress of the CCP, Li Yuanchao has resigned from the central leadership. He was very young at that time. This example shows that when senior officials are in a delicate or unpopular position, even if they go abroad, their overseas activities may be deliberately downplayed. It was not reported by official media. The media's silence itself became an implicit signal of political trend. The second case is Zhao Ziyang's visit to North Korea, which was the issue in 1989. As the General Secretary of the Central Committee visited North Korea in late April 1989. The Xinhua News Agency reported on Zhao Ziyang's visit. However, after he returned to China, there was a high domestic student movement. His speech and performance during the May 4th movement, which led to a sharp division within the party, when the political turmoil intensified in late May, the official media quickly silenced Zhao Ziyang's activities. After he appeared in Tiananmen Square on May 19th, after his conversation with students, Xinhua News Agency and CCTV did not make any positive reports. Then Zhao Ziyang was relieved of his party position. He became a very sensitive figure in the history of the CCP. He was under house arrest. He was under house arrest until his death. This process shows that when a leader's political fate takes a sharp turn, the media will suddenly stop the promotion of his whereabouts and remarks. Zhao Ziyang's visit to North Korea itself was not a problem. His policy proposals after returning to China were not approved by Deng Xiaoping at that time. As a result, all his related reports were immediately disappeared from official media. This can be said to be regarded as a high-level foreign visit due to domestic political reasons. Media silenced case after a high-level foreign visit. Let's take a look at the next example. Let's take a third example, such as Qin Gang, right? This is very interesting. Summer 2023. Qin Gang, the then foreign minister, after attending an international event, suddenly disappeared from the public eye and was then dismissed. Within a month of his disappearance, Xinhua News Agency did not mention the high-level dynamics. The official report on Qin Gang's last appearance were also deleted or weakened, although it was not an unreported foreign visit, but the media was silenced after the high-level visit of the Communist Party of China have something in common. So, when officials have political or disciplinary problems, the propaganda will deliberately downplay their public activities. Another example is that some retired senior officials visit other countries after leaving office, usually in a private or semi-official capacity. Domestic media sometimes do not report to avoid unnecessary associations. They have retired. Something Hu Chunhua hasn't retired, right? Right? These cases show that in the CCP's propaganda system, whether to report on the visits of senior officials and how to report it is often a barometer of political trends. If a senior official's foreign visit is not reported by Xinhua, it may be based on the following considerations. First, internal power struggles or censorship. Media silence. It may mean that the official is facing an internal investigation or has an accident. It's an important signal. Reporting on his whereabouts may be inappropriate, just like the Li Wanchao case, just like Hu Chunhua's case. Secondly, it's about diplomatic strategy. Sometimes some sensitive issues involved in some visits or diplomatic achievements that are still in the making, such as some diplomatic envoys, such as visiting the Middle East or Ukraine. Sometimes the media doesn't report on them. Not reporting the trip abroad, the official chooses not to disclose it to avoid complications. Thirdly, it's a change in the focus of publicity. If a leader is about to step down or has been adjusted, his visit is not valuable. Let's just say that avoid paying too much attention to these transitional figures. It's meaningless. Why bother? So in any case, this kind of delay in publishing is an unconventional phenomenon. It's often abnormal, which means the visit itself is at the level of domestic politics or public opinion is not worth promoting. Combining the above three aspects after Hu Chunhua visited Nigeria in April 2025, the Chinese official media has not reported it. There may be multiple factors at play. First, from Hu Chunhua's own political position, he is no longer a core member of the circle. So the priority of publicity is relatively low. This visit, it was more about executed the diplomatic communication task instructed by Xi Jinping. His personal influence is also limited. The propaganda department is not eager to highlight his role. Secondly, compared with this incident, when he was the secretary in Guangdong in 2016, when he met with the Nigerian president in a high-profile manner. Compared to that time, the media reports are much more low-key now. It is consistent with the saying people leave and the tea cools. The problem of being marginalized. Secondly, from the perspective of propaganda routine and diplomatic release, Chinese media are generally cautious about ordinary foreign visits. It's likely that Xinhua News Agency is waiting for a better time. There is such a possibility, but rarely, very small. For example, if this visit achieves substantial results, or on a higher-level occasion, we just said that, right? Report it at the right time. There is such a possibility, it's not big. Finally, from historical experience, as a vice-national travel information for leaders at this level is not made public. Xinhua News Agency does not report. Sometimes it indicates subtle political signals. We have repeatedly raised this issue. So far, it is indeed very abnormal. I think, as I said before, it's him. It may be out of the need for internal propaganda balance to avoid taking the limelight from current President Xi Vietnam and Malaysia, the limelight of current visit. It may also imply for Hu Chunhua's own political future, a tacit judgment. Then even if he said that this visit is seen as a further marginalization, or that he is about to be purged, rather than a return to the center of power. My judgment may be completely different from maybe completely different. Of course, I am a family. From an internal perspective, from my perspective, it is indeed the case. So, in conclusion, I feel that Hu Chunhua's trip to Nigeria, the Xinhua News Agency, has not released the report. On the surface, it is a delay in publicity arrangements, but actually reflects its current political status. In addition, the CCP's consistent propaganda selective reporting strategy. So in the CCP system, the propaganda policy is to correct the overall situation. The exposure of a leader is not accidental. This case, it reflects diplomatic affairs reporting and the dynamics of power within the party. The more marginalized the leader's position is, the less coverage there is. We saw before, over a week before, Hu Chunhua went to Anhui for research. We could see it in domestic news. But this time, we can't see it. In just a few days, the gap is huge. On the contrary, the heat and timeliness of the report itself is a barometer of the degree of power's importance. Okay, friends, time and the relationship will stop here. That's all for today's program. See you at the same time tomorrow. Thank you for watching.